This video is brought to you by Sporlan, quality, integrity, and tradition.
Well, it's an early morning. It's about 7 a.m. Got to the restaurant a little bit early because we are going to be doing some work on this exhaust fan. This exhaust fan has got bad bearings. We're going to put a new motor on it. We priced out a replacement exhaust fan and it was insane. So customer opted to have it repaired. So that's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to take you guys through the process of what I do to replace the bearings and go through all that stuff. First thing I'm going to do is take some penetrating oil, all right, and we're going to spray it on all these surfaces. We're going to let it sit for a little bit. We're going to spray it on the bearings. Just let it sit while I'm kind of getting all my stuff ready, and just let it start maybe doing some work here. We have all different methods of getting these bearings off. These bearings are at least 20 years old. I've been the only person to really work here. Not too worried about this, but I'll go ahead and put some on it anyways because we're more than likely going to be changing the motor. But we'll just let this penetrating oil sit here and then kind of break some of the stuff free, hopefully. Now, I wasn't really planning on fixing this exhaust fan. It just kind of came up. So when I condemned, or when I attempted to condemn the fan and get all the information for replacement, I wrote everything down last time, okay? So based off of that, I got new bearings for it. Now, I don't know if the bearings are gonna work because they're a different brand. The offset might be different, but to me, they look pretty good, about where they need to be. You always wanna make sure before you tear the whole fan apart, because I've done this before, where you tear it apart, you put the new bearing on, and then the new bearing's offset's like a 1/4 inch off, and then now the wheel hits something. So gotta make sure as you're going along. So far they look like they're right, but we'll definitely have to be doing more work once we get the pulleys off and stuff, and then we can determine. So the entire time we're thinking, before we go any further, don't damage anything, don't destroy anything, just in case we get all the way to the point where we get the pulley off and we find out this bearing won't work, then we can at least put it back together. So in a perfect world, we come in and we just cut everything. We replace the shaft, the wheel, all that stuff. I'm not doing that today. We're just changing the bearings. That's the plan, at least. So I got the pulley and the taper bushing off, okay? And I cleaned it up as best as possible. The shaft has a little scarring on it, but nothing too bad. But this is the main reason. So that play, that's where this thing's making a deep grinding noise. So that guy's bad. So next, we're gonna go ahead and take this bearing right here. Make sure that it looks relatively correct. If I can get it on. There we go. Make sure it kind of matches up. And it looks like it's gonna be right. Everything looks good. Let me get in here and make sure these set screws aren't tight. And I'll see if I can get it down a little bit further. But I think we're gonna be okay to proceed further. In a perfect world, it's best to break the bottom bearing free first, because then this one is still supporting the shaft. If you break this one loose, then it's hard to break the bottom one loose. So we're gonna try to get the bottom one. This looks like what is it, a locking collar is what it looks like to me. So we probably gotta break the locking collar free, then break the race from the bearing itself free. But we gotta do the bottom one first. So that's what we're aiming for right now. So we're doing everything very carefully as to not damage anything, just in case we hit a point where we can't complete it. So do you happen to have a Allen wrench in your bag?
Yeah. Could this be original bearings?
100%. I don't think I've ever changed these before. It would have been me. Oh man, that sucks. There's not much room here. get a screwdriver? Check to see if they're here.
Nothing.
Must be 8.
What's that?
So it must be 8 then?
No, it's only 7:45.
No, I'm saying, but are they? So they must be getting there at 8.
Oh yeah.
You want to collect all these little guys right here?
Yep.
So I can hold that lid. Ready? So we're using the weight of the wheel. By turning it, the centrifugal force that it's creating, because when you turn the wheel, it doesn't want to turn back fast. So the weight of the wheel helped you to undo these nuts. So what I'm trying to do is it's back and forth, and it's not really grabbing, but usually that'll break it free. If I can get it any tighter. You don't want to scar the shaft. That's something you got to be careful about. We could get some heat out if we need to. Now another thing too is the top bearing is the one that's bad. I typically like to change both bearings. Sometimes it'll get to a point where this thing's not coming off,
Yeah.
and I have to make a decision. So again, that's why we don't destroy anything. We don't have to. So it's just, there's nothing really holding it except for it's been there for years and years and years. That's all. Why don't you get me my map gas torch from over there? We'll heat this guy up a bit. we're trying to heat the bearing and not the shaft. It's kind of hard, but you're hoping that the bearing race will expand and the shaft will stay cooler because it'll contract the shaft. So. So when we use this, we use a dead blow hammer because it doesn't scar the shaft. It just does percussive convincing. You gotta watch out for these ones. That's what I don't like normal channel locks. They don't grab as well. The Knipex are having a hard time too. The Knipex get in there better. Just not. Come on. So in this situation, I would get out the grinder and start cutting, but it's going to be kind of difficult to cut. And in order to cut this bearing, I have to lift up the whole wheel and shaft and take this one off. So I'm going to give it a little more effort before I commit that far. I don't think this guy's gonna go. All together, that way they don't get lost. Okay, dead blow hammer. I need you to come over here, and you're going to need to lift on this outer edges straight up, just light pressure when I turn this. Okay. one. Now, unfortunately, it would have been a heck of a lot easier to get the bottom one broken free, because then this one would have just slid right off. It's not how it works. It's got to be difficult, so we got to figure out the bottom one now. Go ahead and get this stuff out of the way. In a few minutes, probably going to need some more towels, but if you look around, I have some scattered around here. Just make sure you keep one that's totally clean around. Okay, we need a measurement from here to the top of here so we know how to set the next bearing. 3 5/8. Write that down on that piece of plywood. 3 5/8. Not going to come free, so we're going to need to get in here and break it free. Just use the other end, the way it's not ratcheting on me. Pull it out. Again, always put them together. Less chance of stuff getting lost. You okay? Weight off. Okay. Got the outers off. Everything looking okay with the wheel?
Yeah.
Not looking damaged or anything? Is there any way we can wedge this under here? Lift up a little bit? that free. I don't need to break that off. I'm gonna grab a towel. There it goes.
Try grabbing some channel locks.
So we got to hit it down past so we can get underneath it and clean it.
Okay.
There we go. Now we can clean it and it'll come right off. Here you go. And there's the sandpaper. So sometimes you can go all the way through and like, I mean, I've even slightly scarred the shaft and it's not a big deal if you clean it up. But in this case, all that we did was by cutting it, we actually were vibrating it. And it was actually enough to break it free. So it didn't actually have to go into the shaft at all. Okay, some of that lube. Past that certain point. New piece of sandpaper. There's one right here. Split it. Just a little dimple. There we go. Now we're free. Gonna take the bearing. Now the new bearings that I got are set screw bearings, which I like better. Alright, now we're just gonna line up the bolts. You can start grabbing those. So big washer, lock washer, nut. So that was 3 5/8?
Yep.
So we are at 7 inches, so we're high. Okay, so this is what we got to do. So 3 5 inches from 3 5/8 from here. So essentially, I should be able to mark 3 5/8 on here, and then that's where it should be. So, got my marker. Three and 5/8 is approximately right here. Should be this, lined up with this when we drop it down. So next thing is we're going to have an Allen wrench to tighten this down, so that way we can lock it in. About right there. Hold on. Hold it. The bearings will be self-leveling, so come over here. About right there. Tighten this one set screw right here. Just snug it. Okay, out in, a couple more times. Right there. Okay, we're going to turn it and you're going to snug the other one. Let's get that one to go. Okay. Alright. Now come over here and move the plywood. So the bearings are self-leveling. That's why I can go like this, back and forth. Okay, so that's approximately where I think it needs to be. We can get the other bearing on. Yeah, we're gonna put the bearing on just like this. Get the Zerk, pull it out, put the other one. Actually, just get them both, we'll put them on right now. Straight up right there in front of your face. And then whatever that is, maybe a 5/16. Quarter inch, 5/16. Quarter. Okay, so grab your open end. Oh, you know what? It probably won't fit over it, so you're going to need to get a 1/4 inch ratchet wrench, probably. You have a 1/4? I do if you don't. The back of my bag, where all my little miscellaneous tools are. Scared the crap out. So we got to get this so that way the set screws are not on the key. Race. There we go. And just tighten them in. I prefer set screw bearings over locking collar. I get the locking collar, they self-tighten themselves. And technically set screws can come out, but set screws are so much easier to change.
Yeah.
In the future. And I mean, it's very rare that I've had a set screw come out. That's why you run them in like I did. And then we'll let it run for 10 minutes, then retighten everything. Alright. So this guy's good, free. Now we need to put the pulley on. Oh, go ahead and get those Zerks in. Take the cap off. So we got the bearings installed, the pulley loosely set on there. We got to set it once we get the motor installed. So we're going to install a motor. Most important thing is when you install the bearings, it needs to free spin without hitting anything, and it's not. We're good to go. We'll double tighten everything after it's ran for a few minutes, but like I said, next one is getting this motor replaced. Okay, that's where it's set. This guy needs to come down to here. We got to make sure that it's actually hitting the key that's being pushed down. It's not, so this pulley has to go up a little bit. Why is it going up? It's odd.
Tighter.
Not tighten down here. Like got itself into a little bind. There we go. Okie dokie. So now that's fully on the key. We need to tighten this guy on. All right, so we're getting everything set. We're going to get a new belt because apparently I had the wrong belt size. So we're getting 2 new A76, AX76 belts. Now this exhaust fan is not sitting level, so we can't use a level to tell us if the belt is straight, so we got to eyeball it. Now I do have a straight edge, but it's actually rather easy to eyeball these fans. All you need to do is look at how the belt is riding in here and look at how it's riding in here. And look at, you know, you can see it. It's hard to show it on camera, but you can see it. So you can always use a level and assume that you get the belt way off like that. So I mean, it's actually almost there if you use that logic. Right there and right there, it's pretty much the same. But to me, that's pretty darn straight. Looks pretty darn good to me. And again, I'm looking at how it's riding in here, right into that pulley. You just kind of look at the angles and look at the angles here, find a straight edge, and then check the other side. It looks pretty good to me. Typically what you want to do, because this has a taper bushing, so you actually pull it up about 1/8 to 3/16 of an inch. Actually, I'm sorry, you go down about 1/8 of an inch or so, because when you tighten this, it's actually going to pull the pulley up into the taper. So you go down about 3/16 to 1/8 of an inch, and then when you tighten these guys, it's going to pull this pulley up. So the supply house didn't have the belts. This spare is actually a new belt, and this one's not in too bad a shape, so we're actually going to leave it on. It's an AX belt. So we're where we need to be. Now I got to wire in the motor electrically. We'll put new conduit and then go right into the motor, and then hopefully start this guy up. All right, we're using the low voltage side. So T 4, 5, and 6 get wired together. 4, 5, and 6. So we got to find those. Typically they wire these for the high voltage, so that way you don't accidentally burn up the motor. Sometimes they'll come like pre-wired. So we need to find 4, 5, and 6. So 6 is going to be gray. 7, 9, 2, 8, 5 is black, and 4 is yellow. So 4, 5, and 6, gray, black, and yellow. T6, double check. T4, T5. Those three are getting wire netted together. This is low voltage 3-phase. It's rated for 460 or 208. So, okay, there's that. Nice good twist on them. Now, 7 and 1 go to line 1. 1, 2, 7. Blue and pink. 7, 1, line 1. Make sure they're good. They feel good. We'll pull the slack out. And then 2 and 8 go to line 2. There's 3, 9, 8, 2. 2 and 8 are going together. Make sure, always tug on the wires. And by process of elimination, these two should be 9 and 3. 3 and 9, that's it. And we'll reverse the rotation if necessary at the disconnect switch, so that way we can close this up completely. All right, that's good. Now I just got to get it all in there, and then we'll wire over at the disconnect switch. All right, we're all wired in. I have someone going downstairs to turn on the power switch. We control it at this disconnect. Now, there was no ground in here. I went ahead and ran a ground, but there's still not a ground going downstairs. Old school, they were using the conduit as a ground, but using flexible seal tight as a ground is kind of sketch, because it can break and then you lose your potential ground. Now, the odds are is that it's grounded through the fan, but you never want to rely on that. You always want to have a dedicated ground going back to the breaker panel. But old school codes allowed for you to use the conduit. So on older buildings, you tend to see this. But at least on my part, I have it grounded up here to the motor. So again, I'm just waiting for my tech to turn it on. Then we can check phase rotation and start adjusting the pulleys if need be for current. All right, here we go. Let's have a look. What direction does this fan want to spin? This fan wants to spin clockwise. So if you look at the blower wheel, it should spin and blow out. So it should go this way, is what it should go. So let's go ahead and hit this power switch. And we're going the wrong direction. So it's really simple. We'll just reverse the phase right here, any one of these wires. All right, and let's try it again. Now it started a little loud. Might just be that we need to grease the bearings, but it certainly sounds a lot quieter than it did before. And we're moving air like we should. Everything's good. We're definitely going to grease these bearings, but night and day difference. We're going to let it run for a few minutes, and then we will double tighten on all the screws and everything. We're gonna start cleaning our messes up. All right, we are up and running. We are running under current for the motor. I pretty much set everything where the other stuff was set. Now, we are gonna be replacing some other fans on the roof in the near future, and we're gonna be getting a test and balance company out here. So I'm not too worried. I ballpark got it where the other fans were as far as the pulley and stuff and everything. And the current's about where the other current was. I know you guys didn't see me measure that, but we're good to go. So we're just cleaning it up, and we're gonna give them the keys, put the lids back on. And this fan just got another couple years of life out of it. So we just saved another one.
So it's definitely a different style of video. I usually don't show, like, you know, the whole working process. I just figured I'd give it a shot and see what you guys thought. I didn't think it turned out too bad. I tried to trim it up as much as possible. There was 3 hours worth of footage, so I trimmed it down to, what, 35 minutes or something like that. When it comes to doing bearings, power transmission kind of work, the key is cleanliness, okay? And then also understanding what you're working on. In my situation, it had been many years since I've changed bearings on something because majority of the times customers just replace equipment. They don't want to put the money in. I priced out a new exhaust fan. It was going to cost like 20 grand. The repair was significantly cheaper than $20,000, so the customer opted for that option. Now, the fan itself is in pretty bad shape. It is pretty worn down. It's bowing in a couple sections, but I think they still at least get another 5 to 10 years out of it, I would think. Those bearings will make it last a little bit longer, and then further down the road, they can make a decision on what they want to do. Now, again, I said it's about cleanliness, okay, and understanding the procedures you should follow and the steps you should take in the proper order of those steps. In a perfect world, I like to break the bottom bearing free, because if you break the bottom bearing free, then it can be suspended. The shaft and everything is still suspended from the top. If you unbolt both top and bottom bearings and try to work with it, then you have nothing holding everything in place. The wheel's pushing down on something. You run the risk of damaging the wheel. I did put pressure on the wheel. I had it sitting on that sheet of plywood. I highly suggest carry one of those in your van. Just a, 2.5 foot by 2.5 foot sheet of plywood or something like that, and they come in handy. That one I used for a job previously in the week, and then I just so happened to have it on this one. I threw it away after this job because it was all covered in grease. They're nothing in comparison, so I always pick those things up. They're good to have. But I did apply some pressure on the wheel. Now, understanding the construction of the wheel and what it's made out of. It's made out of steel. You don't want to be banging on it too much, because if you start to bend the wheel, then it's going to be out of balance and the fan's going to vibrate and it's going to cause issues. But I did apply some pressure because I knew the limits of the steel that was made out of. If it was aluminum, you wouldn't want to apply any pressure whatsoever because the slightest bit would warp it. I really hate when people use aluminum wheels, but they do every once in a while. The aluminum ones have their own problems, where if they don't clean them regularly, they'll actually get damaged because of the grease buildup on them and the physics of it, centrifugal force, who knows, I don't know, some voodoo magic stuff. But I was able to put a little pressure on it. You saw me banging a little bit. Using a dead blow hammer is a key when you're doing this kind of stuff, because it has the sand inside of it, so it still has the weight. And like I said in the video, it's just like percussive convincing, basically. That you use when you're using those dead blow hammers, and they're good. I really do care, like using that in a lot of different aspects of this trade. That dead blow hammer comes in handy for sure. So I was able to break everything free, well, the top bearing, and then I ended up having to cut the bottom off. Now, I'm sure there's some people that said I should have just cut it from the beginning, but I prefer to try to take them apart mechanically if you can. It just, tends to go faster. Now, this one didn't, so we ended up cutting everything off. Sometimes you have to cut all the way through the race because it won't break free like this one. But on this one, I was able to just notch it, relieve some of the pressure, and then also the vibration of the cutting wheel kind of broke the race free. And then I was able to get it off, then clean the heck out of everything, slide the new equipment on, and then just level everything out, balance it. Now, did you guys catch the mistake that I made? I made a big mistake, but it ended up being okay in the end, okay? And I'll explain why. Go back and look at the pulley sizes. For some reason, I got the motor pulley size incorrect. It was about an inch too small. So theoretically, I slowed down that fan a little bit. This particular customer is actually in the process of changing a lot of equipment in their kitchen, so I'm not too worried about slowing down that fan. They used to have a charbroiler underneath here, and they don't anymore. So they basically they're rebalancing their building coming up. Okay, so I did put a smaller pulley on there, but it's not going to make a huge difference in the grand scheme of this setup. And again, they are having an air balance company come out soon, and they'll balance out the building for what the new needs are. So wasn't too concerned on that, but you do want to be careful because the pulley sizes change the speed of the fan, and everything affects that. Okay, so but I got this one back up and running. We were able to get the fan going. Like I said, it got them a little more life out of it. You guys got to see a different side of things. You got to see me interacting with one of my employees and, you know, just getting the fan back up and running. So I really appreciate you guys making it to the end of the video. Thank you so very much. If you haven't already, please consider checking out my website, hvacrvideos.com. We have some merchandise available on there. It's a great way to help support the channel. Other ways to support the channel, the easiest way is just watch the videos from beginning to end, okay? Next, we have links in the show notes of the video for PayPal, Patreon, and YouTube channel memberships. Those are all different ways that you can choose to support the channel if you're interested. One last way is go to TrueTechTools.com. TrueTechTools.com is a website that I use to purchase tools. I've actually set up an affiliate link program. If you use my offer code BIGPICTURE, you get an 8% discount on majority of the items on their website. There's a few things it doesn't apply to, but majority of the items you'll get an 8% discount. And then when you use my offer code, again, big picture, one word, I get a small commission from that. So it's another great way to help support the channel. And True Tech Tools has a lot of great stuff. A lot of the stuff that you see me using in my videos is usually from True Tech Tools. So check it out. I really do appreciate you. Remember to be kind to one another. You just never know what the other person's going through. Not justifying someone being a jerk. I say this all the time, right? It's like on repeat, the record thing. But I'm not justifying someone being a jerk. I'm not saying that you should just let it go. But just remember, sometimes people make mistakes. They don't act the way they should when they're going through a lot of crap. So just remember that, okay? Have compassion for each other. I really do appreciate you, and we will catch you on the next one, okay?